everybody. Welcome back to 366 Days of Hope. My name is Pearl. I'm here to share our next topic, which is 5 things not to do in your marriage. The first one is don't gossip about your spouse to other people. Don't give intimate details that are going to possibly upset the other person if you ended up telling. If it's something that your husband doesn't or spouse doesn't care about, then that's fine, but don't do that. Don't gossip about them, especially negative things. And I know I talked about that in my previous video as to why, but that is definitely a number one. The second one is don't put your spouse down in public. Don't shame them. Don't, criticize them in front of other people. One, it makes you look bad as a person doing it. 2, it makes the other person feel bad that you're doing that to them, embarrassing them in front of other people. And 3, it makes your relationship dynamic look bad in front of everybody who's observing. So don't do that. The third one is don't compare your spouse with someone else. So this is probably a big no-no, mainly because one, if you compare your spouse with somebody else and say, oh, I wish you were like so-and-so's husband, or I wish you had the talent of so-and-so's wife. Doing those kind of things are going to create a competition or make the other person not want to try, or it makes them feel like that you are bashing them as a person, and also it will ruin their self-esteem. So yeah, you do not want to do that if you want to continue building a healthy relationship. The other one is don't ignore your spouse. I feel like in Asian culture that I feel like we do this when we're angry, but it's still not healthy. Don't ignore your spouse, okay? If they're text messaging you, don't ignore them. If they are sending you something, don't ignore it. Either say, hey, I've received your message, I'll get back to you. But also, when they're there in person, don't ignore them either. If you're out in a public place, don't ignore them. Make sure that you go and you create presence that, hey, me and my wife, we're an item here, we're a relationship. But if you ignore each other, oh, I could care less what they're doing, and you don't acknowledge each other, it kind of sends a wrong vibe. So don't do that. And also that can create animosity inside the other person, oh, they're ignoring me, they don't like me, they have issues with me, or there's pent up stuff. Try and resolve those issues. The last one I would say is don't withdraw emotionally, physically from your relationship. That I think is going to cause a lot of problems, especially because men are physical and want intimacy, and if women, we emotionally withdraw ourselves or physically withdraw ourselves, that can hurt your relationship and cause more problems down the line, and it doesn't benefit anybody in your relationship if you do that. Obviously, when I was dealing with my whole issues, that was something that I did early on in my relationship, again stemming from childhood issues that I had, not realizing that that's not a healthy mechanism, but it was the one that I knew. It was a default because that was what I was, taught and what was exampled before me. And so I took that on for myself, and realizing you can't emotionally withdraw from your spouse and you can't physically withdraw from your spouse and still maintain a healthy relationship. And vice versa, because then they're going to want to withdraw, and it just becomes this big back and forth situation. Well, you withdrew from me, so now I'm going to withdraw from you. And it just kind of goes back and forth, and it's very petty and it's not healthy. So try to resolve your issues within a day. I think honestly, most arguments and frustrations can be done within a night. Honestly, if you can, if it's something that you need to sleep on, just be honest with the person and just say, hey, listen, I love you still, and you affirm the relationship, that it's not broken over whatever arguments you had, because a lot of people who've dealt with, childhood issues need that affirmation that the relationship isn't broken just because there's a disagreement or there's, a friction that happens, because they may have grown up feeling like the relationship's over. Try to resolve those issues as quickly as you can, but if not, like I said, affirm the person The second is just to tell them when you are ready to talk, and don't delay it for like days. Just say, hey, listen, like, and if it has to be days, please continue to communicate with your spouse and just say, hey, listen, I'm not ready to talk about it, but I promise you by, Tuesday, I'm ready to talk about it. Or set a date and time, and that will alleviate the other person milling thoughts in their head of, this tension that they might be making up in their mind because there wasn't a good communication between you guys of like how to resolve the issue. I like that Bible verse that basically says, I'm paraphrasing here, not a quote, that we should not go to bed angry. And I think that there's a lesson to that, in that sense of trying to resolve our problems quickly so that we're not creating this distancing between, our relationship. And pretty much, guys, those are my 5 tips of what not to do. But I hope that it helps to encourage you that there are things that you can look to and say, hey, am I doing these things? And maybe do some self-reflection and see if you can improve in those areas. Well, with that said, may you live, thrive, and be healthy. And take care, guys. Bye.